What's up, Raider Nation? Great to be with you today. Thanks for joining me. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer for Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. It's great to be with you today. This is our 29th training camp update. No practice today, final preseason game tomorrow, and then everything just switches to a full attention on the Bolts and full attention. Well, not full attention because we've got Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday will be roster. But after Tuesday, it'll be all attention on the Bolts. Looking forward to obviously the beginning of the season. I want to thank everybody who's been watching all of our training camp updates. But after the game tomorrow night, training camp's officially over, and then things begin to move more into a season pattern. I want to two quick things I want to address, and then we're going to get right into the podcast. But the first one is, if you are a member of this channel, and when you go to the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast, there'll be a join button. I think it's $4.99 a month. If you're a member, a video will have been available on the timeline that says members only. I need you to please make sure, if you're a member, that you watch that. If you're not a member, no big deal. Nothing changes for you. We'll be doing podcasts 365 days a year, uh, all year long. We do one every single day. You can rely on us like clockwork. We don't miss. Nothing changes for you. But again, if you're a member, please go watch that. We have another new benefit coming for you. Nothing that takes away from those who aren't members. There's no pressure. We're not doing any of that crap. We're not taking the podcast. You got to pay. None of that. Not doing that. It's ridiculous. But those of you that are members, we have something very special coming up for you 24 times a month. So please make sure you watch that video and then follow the instructions on how you need to contact me, if you would, please. All right, second thing I want to address. Raider Nation, you guys and gals are absolutely amazing. I have said this numerous times, but we are growing so fast, I want to say it again. St. Louis Cardinal baseball fans are universally lauded as probably the best baseball fans that there are. They know the game, they understand the game, they get it. In hockey, you get like the Toronto Maple Leafs, even though their organization hasn't been that good, their fans are tremendous hockey fans. In college football, Nebraska Cornhusker fans are that way. They're elite people that understand the game. In pro basketball, Laker fans very much get the game and understand it. In college basketball, Kentucky fans are extremely knowledgeable of the game. Here's my point. When it comes to football, Raider fans get it. They understand it. And so you guys have just flooded me. More emails in the month of August isn't even over than we've ever gotten. Thousands of them. I want to tell you, first of all, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you, and I'm thankful for you. Number one. Number two, though, and this is a very, very big deal. I'm getting told by my staff, because I just cannot read every single one, that some of you are sending books. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If it's long, it just gets deleted. We get too many. I just literally cannot do it. So that's number one. And number two, remember, you only can email once every 7 days. If you email more than that, it goes on the spam list. And trust me, if you saw our email, you would understand. You may say, well, geez, oh, Pete, I'll get a couple emails a week from my kid. Okay. But we have thousands of them. And I want to give everybody the courtesy of being read. So if somebody takes advantage of that, we just have to do that. So that's a word of note from my staff. So let's get right into it today. We're going to cover a myriad of subjects. So many amazing emails from you guys, all Raiders. So let's get started. I think we're going to try to do, I don't know, we may even get up to as many as 15, as few as 10. It just depends on how long it takes. First comes from Michael V. He talked about my negativity at quarterback and wants to know what I felt the same if AOC had been given the job. And isn't it fair to say that AOC lost the job? So let's start first of all. I don't believe I've been negative at the quarterback at all. I've been truthful. If truthfulness is now negativity, then I guess I have been. But you may remember, I give every new coach 20 games. And then after 20 games, I start to look at them with a fine tooth comb. The moment I started to do that with Josh McDaniels, people are like, woo, Uncle Hondo changed. He now came to the right side. No, I was never on a side. See, this is something very important, Michael, and I appreciate your question. And by the way, I don't think you meant it in any way disrespectful. I didn't take it that way, so I'm not coming from that perspective at all. A journalist's job. Now, if you work for the team, I get it. You're going to write from a team perspective. And then there are some journalists that everything is the sky's falling and the team sucks. I don't get that either. I understand that negativity gets far more clicks than success. That's a factual statement in my business. That's a factual statement. That's why I love working for the largest sports media company in the world at SI. Hey, we don't need you to go negative and we don't need you to be a cheerleader. Do the job of a reporter, cover the team. There'll be times it's negative, there'll be times it's positive. But in the end, in the long run, people are going to respect that you've covered the team fairly. And I have done, you guys are my bosses. And so when you tune into the podcast, if it's all glitz and glitter and Kool-Aid, you're not going to have any respect for it. And quite frankly, people that would do that to you are disrespectful of you. Then people who come from a negativity platform every single day, that's disrespectful of you. So my worldview, I come from a positive worldview. I don't see people as bad. Are there bad people? Sure. Are there jerks? Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you something that I have learned over my life is that the majority of people, I don't care if they're people of faith or not people of faith. I don't care about their political affiliations. I don't care about male or female. I don't care about what country they're from. None of that. I believe in people. I think the majority, overwhelming majority of people are good people. I like people. So I don't come at things with a worldview. Okay. I know exactly what the Raiders said to me all off season. Somebody would have to beat Aiden. Well, they're not going to move up for a guy into the top of the draft. Things that they told me. So I reported that. See, this is the problem sometimes is people take what I report and say, well, that's Hondo's opinion. That's why I say it a lot. I really encourage you, listen to what I say and what I don't say and how I say it. So I don't think I've been negative. I think I was realistic. I gave everybody in camp a chance to demonstrate something. And then last night, the training camp practices came to an end. Okay. I felt the quarterbacks started poorly in camp. And I said that. Then I thought they ascended. Now, last night I said it was probably till the Minnesota game, and then they started to go down. The game after Minnesota, they were down, I mean, the practice, but then that next practice, they were up, and then they started to go down after that. Okay. But I still gave them an opportunity as long as there were practices. I walked into last night's practice fully expecting, because that's my worldview. I was going to see two guys that obviously Gardner was the starter, Aiden wasn't, and but two guys have a great practice. I didn't. See, it's not negativity. Nick Saban says this, Michael. He tells this to his players. I don't determine your playing time. You do. I'll never forget one time I was covering a team and a member of management in the team said to me, why all of a sudden have you been so negative? I said, I haven't been. You just haven't given me a reason for anything to be positive about. And he laughed and goes, can't argue with that. So that is, I don't think it's been negative. I've just been reporting truthfully. That being said, I think it's one of the fairest questions in the world. Would I have felt the same way about the quarterback position had they given it to Aiden? Absolutely, I would have. Both quarterbacks were disappointing in training camp. Period. Both are good men. Both of them have a track record in this league of success, and both of them could do it. That's 100% total truthfulness. And because of that, I was disappointed in camp. And you want someone to win it. You want someone to go out there. I'll give you a great example. I mentioned it last night, but I'll mention it again. Mike Holmgren told me, I think it was at Super Bowl in Detroit. I think that's when he told me this. But Mike Holmgren and I were talking about Brett Favre, and he said, you know, Brett, one of the best ever. But sometimes he'd make a throw and you'd go, no, 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 no. Great throw. But Brett would go out and throw 3 interceptions, and nobody questioned if he was going to get benched. Peyton Manning would. Tom Brady would. Why? Because they had won the job. You knew they were the guy. Trevor Lawrence, he's the guy. Joe Burrow, he's the guy. Josh Allen, he's the guy. I fully expected, and so did the Raiders, by the way, and I'll get into this more with another question later down the road, someone to come in and just win it. Gardner had been at 3 places. This was his chance. They pay him tens of millions of dollars coming off a Pro Bowl. And Aiden, after year 1, with all his problems, they thought someone would win it. And quite frankly, nobody really won it. Nobody really won it. So I don't think it was negativity. And if Aiden O'Connell had won it, my exact reporting would have been to you. Neither guy really, if he'd not won it, if he'd been given the job, neither guy really won it. And that is where you're at. Now, let me address this super quick. Because of how the QB battle went, no matter who gets the starting job, you are sitting on a potential quarterback controversy. I had someone email and cuss me out for saying that. You're just trying to cause. No, I'm not. Not at all. The point is when you have 2 guys, listen, you guys aren't at practice every day, but you're not stupid and you watch the games. You watch the games. So when you have somebody that just didn't go out and win it, okay, if the first guy flounders, people are going to say, get somebody else in there. It's just win, baby. I mean, listen, if Max Crosby has a bad game, nobody's saying, let's go replace him with Tyree Wilson. Why? Because Tyree has yet to show I'm going to take that job. But also, Max has won it. It's clear how good he is. So that's why I don't think it's negativity, to be truthful. Next one comes from Emmanuel G. Says to me, Hondo, if the Raiders have to go get a quarterback next year in free agency, I know you're friends with Kirk Cousins. Would you rather have Kirk or Dak Prescott? This is a great question. First of all, my friendship with Kirk has absolutely nothing to do with it. Kirk has not been able to produce in the postseason. Dak's won 2 games in the postseason, but quite frankly, the Cowboys have underperformed and he's had a lot more talent around him. Both guys are going to cost you a bundle of money. A bundle. If I'm the Raiders and my quarterback situation doesn't pan out, then you have to ask yourself, okay, what about going for an Aaron Rodgers, which I know is a potential thing. I'm not saying it's probable or anything else. I'm just giving you information that I have. And then go draft a rookie if there's one there, or trade for a young quarterback and develop them. Or do you say no, because Aaron's only going to play maybe 1 year, 2, whatever? No. Let's go. And I say let's, I'm using the team from POV, point of view. Let's go get a Kirk or a Dak. Okay, I think Kirk and Dak both have great skill sets. Both are great guys. And both, man, there are the negatives. Dak's had far more talent, but it isn't like he makes coaching decisions. And Kirk, uh, I, just hasn't produced. Just hasn't. I mean, that's just the reality. He's my friend, but it's the reality. So, man, I would probably take, no, not probably. I would take Dak over Kirk. That's not a probably. I would do that. But you also got Dak's been injured a lot, and Kirk's coming off a major injury. I don't know that I would go with either one. I'm going to talk myself right in. I don't know that I would go to either one because of the cost. But if I had to, I would probably at this point, without more evaluation, be leaning to Dak over Kirk. Great question, Emmanuel. Thank you. The next one comes from Kevin W. Um, says that his opinion of AP took a big drop after the announcement of Gardner Minshew. By hearing his by hearing him spinning the decision of Gardner politically. Kevin, I respected your email. I don't think you were disrespectful. I completely disagree. I don't think Antonio spun anything. He said, we're going with Gardner. Got to get a fast start in that first quarter of the season. I'm at everything. I listened to everything. So if he spun something politically, maybe he did an interview that I didn't see, but I didn't see AP at all. If you want to know the truth, I think AP is as disappointed as everybody else that nobody made this decision easy. The next one comes to us from Christopher Clark. Chris Clark says, Hondo, if you had to surmise the quarterback, I have no idea what happened there. So I would ask you to please forgive me. I just lost my screen. I don't know. I'm sure it's my fault. So again, I don't know if you heard the question. It was from Christopher Clark, and he asked me, how would I describe the quarterback situation? And I think that's a very fair question. I would say right now, based on neither guy emerging. Now, please hear what I'm about to say. Both men have a proven track record of the ability to perform in this league. I would tell you if I thought the Raiders don't have a quarterback. That's not how I feel. I feel the Raiders do not have a quarterback who has yet to have emerged. There's a difference. I would say right now they have two quarterbacks performing at a backup quarterback level. Now, there you go, Chris. I hope that answers your question. I think they have two guys that can. I would not be shocked if Gardner Minshew went out and performed at a super high level and the Raiders just took off and were awesome. I would also have no shock if Gardner didn't and Aiden got in and Aiden took off and the team blossomed. I don't have I'm not being political. Both men have proven that they can do it. So to just minimize that would be foolishness. But neither one of them's done it in this camp with an opportunity to go win it. So we'll see. The next one comes to us from Eric A. Hondo basically wants to know if I'm buying into the hype of Bo Nix. No, not at all. And you guys may remember Drew Stanton, the quarterback scout from many NFL teams, was on this program, talked about Bo Nix extensively. I was talking to Drew yesterday. He'll be back on at the end of the year, and we're going to evaluate Bo. But no, I mean, the guy hasn't played a game. Take a deep breath. We're going to wait and see how he does. Just have to wait and see. The next one comes to us from Margaret M. Wanting to know if the leadership has been disappointed in the Raiders quarterbacks. Yeah, I just alluded that a minute ago, Margaret. I think the Raiders were hoping somebody was just going to go up there and, like a house of fire, just take it off. And that just did not happen. Didn't happen. And here was the thing. Well, let's just get to the next email. Comes to us from Edgar A. Edgar A says, Hondo, I have a question about the quarterback battle. Do you think the Raiders quarterback struggles had to do with going against the best defense in the NFL? Edgar A. No, and I'm going to tell you why. So yesterday they're in 7-on-7 drills. Now remember, they're only in essentially shells. So they're not hitting. I mean, they have helmets on, but they're not hitting. And it's basically, the center, the quarterback, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, linebackers, safeties, corners. So it's not really a bunch of linemen. And guys are going off sides. Guys are getting pre-snap penalties. Without the threat of getting hit a bad pass. So no, I don't think it has anything to do with that. Did they have to play him? Yes, but you saw how they did against Minnesota, but then you saw them against Dallas with nearly none of their starters playing. The Raiders did nothing. So no, I don't think that's the case at all. Next one comes to us from Alex Lopez. Am I concerned about a lack of cornerback depth? Yes. I think that's a concern. I alluded to this last night, Alex. When you have Isaiah Palomao having to come up and play your nickel, that's a concern. They are very, very young. You got Jack, Jacorian, Nate, MJ, DeCamerion. They are very, very young at corner. I think they're very talented. But well, in a minute, I get asked a question and I'll answer it next. And so, yeah, I am concerned about the lack of cornerback depth for sure. Experience depth. Let's just get right to the next one. Next one comes from Mike M. And Mike is in Toledo, Ohio. Mike wants to know, I thought this was pretty good. Hondo, what position on this team do you think is going to have the biggest struggle on both sides of the ball? That's Mike M. I think corner, because they're just young and young guys make young mistakes. It's just part of the game of football. It's just part of the game. So I think it's corner on defense, quarterback on offense. I think both can go take those maturative steps. I expect quarterback play to improve, and I expect the cornerback play to improve. I don't think both are dead end. This is where they stink. Hey, there have been times covering this team where you knew, okay, that position stinks. It's terrible. They don't have good players. Raiders have good players. On the quarterback side, it's just somebody stepping up. And on the corner side, it's just young guys. Roy Rogers, the great singing cowboy, many of you probably don't have any idea who he is because of your age. But I love horses. I've grown up around horses, own horses, so I'm a horse guy. And Roy Rogers always says the best thing for a young horse is a wet saddle blanket, meaning you've just ridden them a lot, they sweat a lot. That's what he means by a wet saddle blanket. Just getting them experience. You know, every one of us who are fathers remembers when your kid first rode a bike. And eventually, sometime there early, they took a pretty bad fall. And what do? You get them right back on the bike because you don't want them to not ride it because they're scared. You don't want them to live a life of fear, but you got to get them back on there so they can get confidence. There's going to be some areas on those corners, but they're going to be fine. They've got really good talent. It's just going to be a work in progress. Rob W says, would I mention a QB controversy if AOC had won the job? Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. It's not your fault, Rob. I don't know how they got that. Maybe because I'm just mentioned it in the first one, but yes, I would have felt the exact same way. No quarterback won it. No quarterback won it. Just the way it is. Brenton M from Portland, Oregon wants to know, is the locker room does the locker room believe in Gardner Minshew? Great question. I got this a lot, and I really appreciate that you asked it. This locker room believes in each other, and more important, they believe in AP. And I asked AP about this yesterday. If you didn't watch the video or listen to it, you can go back and watch his press conference from yesterday. But I said, what does it say about the culture you're building when all your guys say is, we're just committed to winning? They have to pick a quarterback. Now, this team loves Aiden. They've known him longer. A lot of them grew up with him last year. Okay. But they really like Gardner too. I don't want to, there's no pretending. Gardner is a great guy. This is not oh man, they're all mad. They saw, listen, most of you didn't see a practice. Some of you did, but you all got to watch the games. I watched every practice. Nobody won this. And then the players watch more than me because after practice is over, I go to write and do podcasts, and they take off and have to go watch the film. They're all aware nobody won it. Do they believe in Gardner? Absolutely. But they also believe in Aiden. So whoever is out there, this team is solely committed to winning. There is no issue. I know a lot of people don't believe me, but this locker room is not divided. There's no division in this locker room. There you go. That was a great question, by the way, Brenton. Next one comes to us from, I think it's Michelle P. Boy, I think it's Michelle, but it may be Michael. Forgive me, from Florida. In the preseason, Hondo, you mentioned the Raiders were investors and not gamblers, but with the decision at QB, have they gone away from that? Yes, Aiden O'Connell threw one bad ball versus Dallas that got intercepted for the pick six, but Minshew had two bad throws that should have been intercepted. I agree with, okay, I want to address a few things. Yes, the Raiders were investors and not gamblers. Correct. Okay. You had three questions there. Well, not really questions, but three separate statements. Yes, the Raiders were investors, not gamblers in the draft, and it's paid off big. This is a good draft class. The third point you make, Aiden had one bad throw that went for a pick six. True. Minshew had two that should have been picked off. Correct. That's absolutely fair. But no, the decision was not made just by the Dallas game. A couple days ago, I did a podcast, but I talked about they looked at all of camp, and Aiden's interceptions had been ascending while Gardner's were coming down. And they told us all camp, ball security, ball security, ball security, ball security. So I don't think that they've went from being investors to being gamblers with the QB decision. I think it was like, wow, nobody won it. Nobody won it. So who are we facing? Okay. Let's let the multi-million-dollar free agent guy go out and show something And if it's not there, we'll go back and continue to develop our young guy. That's exactly, I mean, I think here's the whole deal. The quarterback's not winning the job. Someone asked me earlier, didn't AOC lose the job? I think they both did by not taking it. And so then you have to come down and reason. I heard someone say it, and I wish I could remember who it was. For some reason, I think it was Mike Martz, but if I'm wrong, I'm not lying. But somebody one time, it may have even been John Robinson, but boy, the more I think about it, I think it may have been John Robinson. But anyways, I had a football mind tell me once that if you don't make the decision easy for me, then don't complain when I have to use reason and not tape. Bingo, in the words of Apollo Creed, ding, ding. Facts. That's what the kids would say today. Facts. Next one comes to us from Terry B. Terry lives in Spain, although he wanted me to be very clear. He's from Derbyshire, England. Terry wanted to know uh, is a key missing ingredient in this that everybody already knows what Gardner offers, and AOC is only entering his second year. Basically, what Terry wants to know is it would seem to Terry, you go with AOC because he's only got 1 year under his belt and he's got a bigger upside. Okay. I think that's a very fair argument. But Gardner has a more proven track record of success. You can't argue everywhere he's went, he's had success. But you also can't argue everywhere he's been, teams moved on from him. That's fair as well. So when neither guy won it, if both guys said, this is what the Raiders thought. They thought coming into camp, you know what they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. They thought both players were going to really take their game to another level. And if Gardner outplayed him, he'd win it. And if Aiden did, Aiden would win it. They did not expect it to go to both guys to underperform. That was not an expectation. And in fairness, I didn't expect that either. And that's what we got. It's what we got. Now, I'm not going to go back and rewrite history. I didn't expect it. They didn't expect it. And you can go back and say, well, they should have went this route, this route. Well, first of all, the season hasn't played out. And I don't believe in reinventing history. I thought they made the wise decision to go get Gardner and to see where their quarterback situation is. And even if the quarterback situation at the end of the year is clearly abysmal, it's a better football team, a much better football team. Next one comes in from Britton B, but it's not Britton B, the Raiders player. Spelt differently. And what Britton wants to know is that AP has talked about doesn't want a band-aid at quarterback, wants to find an answer. So would it be a change of plans if they were to go get an Aaron Rodgers? That's a great question, Britton. It's a fantastic question. So let me address that straight up. If the Raiders were to go with an Aaron Rodgers at the end of next year, and you need to pause there for a minute because you're putting the cart in front of the horse. Now, I know I've done it because I've had to address the entire quarterback situation long term. In fact, I did it before camp. I really encourage you to go watch that podcast. I did a whole podcast on the future of the Raiders quarterback situation, and I addressed what happens if all this happens. But if both quarterbacks were to fail and they were to go get an Aaron Rodgers, you would absolutely see them bring a young guy in, whether it's by draft or signing, to develop underneath them. So I think it would be putting a Band-Aid on next season, but not a Band-Aid on the progression of the franchise. Sarah, Sarah K sends this. She is from Florida. Sarah K wants to know, Hondo, based upon the quarterback situation, are you down on the Raiders as an organization moving forward? What are your thoughts? Not down at all. I'm not down at all. I promise. And I'm not being a cheerleader. There's a whole year ahead. I think we got to give people, you got to watch how the season develops. You got to keep a keen eye on what happens. Do I expect Gardner or Aiden to play like they have all year? No. Both men have a proven track record. I'll never forget one time my son did something wrong, and it was really wrong. And I had to get on him pretty good. And we got done, and I hugged him and told him I loved him and prayed with him. And for a couple days, he wasn't distant from me because we're very close, but you could almost tell he was embarrassed, maybe even a little ashamed. And I'll never forget, after about a day and a half, man, I pulled him close to me and I looked him in the eyes. I said, "You made a mistake. You're not a mistake. I've forgiven you. It's over. God's forgiven you. Let's go. Move on. Don't you hang your head." And I'm so proud of my son today. He's an adult and a business owner, and I love you, Hondo Jr. And anyways, my point is that these guys didn't perform well in camp. Their careers aren't over. Their careers aren't. The other night, let's use me as an example. I'll use two examples, okay? In I think it was the Minnesota game. All right. Andrus Peat gets blown up. Aiden O'Connell gets sacked, and the Raiders have to take a field goal. All right. I said it was Thayer Mumford. The jersey was up. I was completely wrong. My journalism career isn't over. The moment I realized it was Thayer, when I saw the replay, I immediately put a tweet out. That was Andrus Peat on the sack, not Thayer. My fault. No excuses. I own it. Okay. The other day, Brock Bowers. I put that Brock, because I had been told before, yeah, Brock's fine. He's going to play. We're not going to lose him. We're good. Okay. I go out. Aiden O'Connell throws a nice touchdown pass. Again, practice, the jerseys are usually up because it keeps guys' bellies room, or their lower section room to breathe. And I put nice touchdown to Brock Bowers. Well, then I look at the replay and look, and the shirt's up, can't tell. Looks like it's Brock Bowers. And then I did this. I'm like, let me look. So I looked again, and I'm like, yeah, that's Brock. Well, Brock's 89. He isn't 88. I got it wrong. What did I do? Got it wrong. I don't admit telling. I'm not too prideful that I can't admit that. You're going to get things wrong. Okay. These guys didn't have good camps, but they have proven track records of success in this league, and they're good men. No, I don't think you should be down in the least bit. And you know what? I would tell you if I felt that. I would tell you. I said before the season, I don't think this is a Super Bowl team, and I still don't. I told you that you may remember when the schedule comes out, I always give you my prediction. And here's how I predict. If this team performed at its best, what would the win total be? At what would be probably the worst? And then I go in the middle. Okay. So I looked at the Raiders schedule, I looked at the roster, and thought the best case for this team is 11 wins. Worst case to me is 9. So I predicted 10 wins. Now, you also know, if you followed me for any amount of time, after the 23-man roster is developed, I mean, the 53-man roster is finalized in the waiver wires and any trades or whatever. Then I'll make my final prediction before the season. Okay. So after I see everything and look at more changes, then I consider the possibility of changing that. And so do I still think that this is a Raider team that should finish above 500? There's too much talent on this team not to. But when your biggest question mark is quarterback in a league where quarterback is the most important, if you like hockey, okay, you got to have a good goalie because in the sport of hockey, you're just not really going to outscore a ton of people. It's not a sport with a ton of scoring. So a goalie can change it. That's why hockey and the Stanley Cup playoffs are so much fun. You get a hot goalie, and there are times that you can win only scoring one goal a game. That's not the modern NFL. And the most important position, you've seen teams that had a great quarterback, but not really a great team win games. No, not Super Bowls. There is a ton of talent on this team. They are young, but no, I don't think you should be discouraged at all. Not in the least bit. And remember, just because somebody's not bringing you good news doesn't mean they're bringing you bad. Just remember that. Remember that. You people listening right now, every one of us in our lives have made mistakes. We've made big mistakes. We've made small mistakes. You say, I haven't. Well, then guess what? Your biggest mistake is you're an egomaniac. We all have. But the point is, you just want to continue to build for the future. There's nothing wrong. Every one of us has a past, but thank you to the Lord, we all have a future. And so, you know what? You keep building. I don't think there's one reason here. The team isn't, if this team were divided, I'd be like, ugh. There is no division on this team when it comes to quarterback. None. And there's no division on this team when it comes to head coach. This team believes in each other. Listen, I want to thank you. Don't forget tomorrow night's podcast, complete recap, Raiders Niners. Now remember the Raider Niner thing. This is going to be a big game. There's some battles. If you don't know what the battles are, make sure you watch last night's podcast if you didn't. But I want to say this quickly to me. This was my 5th training camp I've got to cover. And Raider Nation, you are the best fans in the world. First of all, it would be unfair of me to not thank my family, my stunningly beautiful wife, inside and out, and my children. I love seeing the kids, take mom out to eat or whatever, because I'm working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, 20 hours a day, not 20 hours a week, but I love to see them during training camp. They really step up. They help with their brother Dexter. They love on their mom. But I want to give a big shout to my family. Wouldn't be able to do it without them. And they literally, when training camp comes, are like, hey, go do what you got to do. We understand we're a priority in your life, but for these 5 or 6 weeks, they get it. So I want to thank them. Second of all, we live in a society of people who love to complain. I want to thank my bosses. I work for the best company in the world. I truly believe that. The way they treat us, the way they take care of us, the way they support us. I work for an amazing company with amazing bosses. And I want to thank them for the privilege of working for them. A lot of people act like, oh, my boss is lucky to have me. No, I work at such a great company that every single day I know I'm blessed to work where I work. But I want to say this: Raider Nation fans are absolutely the most amazing fans in the world. They know the game, they get the game, they're passionate, they're fun. And I appreciate all of you. And thank you. I'm not entitled to you watching this podcast and reading our articles and follow me on IG and Threads and X. I'm not entitled to that. I don't get up and say, oh, I'm Hondo Carpenter. I deserve that. No, I have to work every day to earn your trust, and you let me. And I want you to know. I want you to know. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. You're simply the best. See you tomorrow night after the game, everybody. God bless you.